Think about a little bit about the models and which one do you think would be best for your particular class and what you're teaching. So we have the 3 models that we discussed: supplemental instruction, peer-assisted learning, and tutoring. And then think about how you would use that particular model in your class or for your course.
I would like to take the floor and talk about the model I use. I use supplemental instruction in my class. I have been using it for almost 9 years. I started using it at LaGuardia. That's when I was introduced to supplemental instructor, and it's really helped in the class in such a way that it gives a chance to students who are really quiet and timid to find a place where they can, an environment where they can really ask questions that they don't have the possibility to ask in the class. Furthermore, it stretches the professor way of explaining beyond the classroom boundaries, because it's empowered the supplement instructor to carry on what has been discussed in the class and make it much more accessible to students. Furthermore, this supplement instructor has been my former student that have a trained and know my rigor when it comes to what's supposed to be discussed and what I want from him or her. So it's a model that really works, and I will really invite my colleagues to use it as well in the class. Thank you.
Anyone else want to contribute? And now, of course, if you haven't used any, SI or peer-assisted learning or tutoring, what you can discuss is what you would like to use and why you would like to use and how you're thinking about implementing it.
I think for me, using SI leader in your classroom is the collaboration between you and the SI leader. That's the best way mostly you can use SI leader in your classroom. Because if the instructor is not collaborate with the SI leader, nothing will work for the student. Because what the student need to have confidence in the SI leader that is in the classroom. So mostly what I say by that, sometimes student might come to you and say, oh, the way you solve the problem, the SI leader come with a different method that make me confused. So I don't want to come back. So you have to find a way to coordinate with the SI leader that you can be in the same line. That the student, you and the SI leader can be in the same line, where you can understand, the SI leader can understand this, the student can understand what you did, and also be able to understand what the SI leader doing outside the classes.
Yeah, that's why I'm more interested in SI as well. So, so that the supplemental instructor and I can be on the same page. And I like to have somebody to go around, walking around the students and helping students every class while they are working on their problems. So I like to have somebody in my class every day. But my question is, if I do the PAL, how often can I invite the student leader to come there? Like, can I require him or her to be there like every week, or is there a limit?
Key, do you have an answer for that?
So it depends on the class you have, right? So let's say you have 4 hours class. Definitely, there's no problem for the PAL leader to go to a class. That's the same way you're working as SI2. Just SI leader will go to a class every time, but PAL leader is more flexible and more flexible contact with students, because students can schedule anytime they want it. But the SI leader is more restricted on the time they already scheduled it. Let's say you schedule the SI leader 2 hours before the class or 2 hours after class, then this won't be changed because students know exactly the time they set up. But the PAL leader could be doing maybe Wednesday for the review for the whole class, if everybody has time, right? So it's up to you. I mean, but for the 8 hours class, right? Because every PAL leader and SI leader can only work 20 hours per week, right? Once it's not over 20 hours and the schedule is possible, everything should be fine.
Okay, from my understanding, the SI leader or the PAL leader time is embedded into the time that is allotted for a class. Is that correct?
Not really. It's the time that, okay, you have your class time.
Right.
And the SI leader can be there in the class with you, which is what the SI leader does. The
Okay.
PAL leader may pop in and out. Now, it's the time outside of the class is when they have their own individual sessions. So they have special sessions that are outside of the designated class time, which is independent from the class time itself.
Okay. So if the class is 8 hours a week, for instance, the SI or PAL time out of the classroom should be something totally separate from those 8 hours. Is that correct?
Separate from those 8 hours. I don't remember exactly, maybe 2 or 3 hours.
So it depends on the SI to schedule those time?
Yes, it depends on the SI. Oh, you could schedule it for your SI, but your SI has to be there.
Exactly. Oh, exactly. I see.
Something where you may pop in and out just to say hello.
Right.
But it's between the SI and the students, and that's their time.
Okay.
And if I may just clarify real quick, the SI leader is someone who is working only for you, specifically for you, for your class, right? Assisting your students. Whereas the PAL leader is open to many different courses. So they will be working with a number of faculty and working with a number of students.
Oh, I see.
All right. Okay.
I see. Okay, I see.
My question to you, do you have a connection between the instructor and the PAL leader?
Your question is for me?
Yes.
Say, what is it again, Professor Conte?
They have a connection between the instructor and the PAL leader.
Like with the.
The reason why I say that, because mostly you have the lesson plan. In order for the student to, the SI leader to better serve the student, you have to know exactly what you're going to teach in the class, what the lesson plan is going to be. And now the SI leader can take over in the class anytime. It can go on and help the other student. But if the SI leader come to class unprepared, you don't know exactly what he's going to do. So,
well, what you're talking about is the PAL leader?
Yeah, the PAL leader.
So, the PAL leader is prepared, and I think what they are working with is more so concepts, but Professor Key can talk about how he runs the PAL program for the mathematics department specifically. Professor Key, do you want to go into that about that?
The PAL leader first is if you want to have it, right, you have to contact GIA or us to get a PAL leader for your class. So that's exactly the same way you request a SI leader, right? But PAL leader is still working with you. You sign the work for your leader, right? Let's say you want him to prepare something and the method you want, you have to tell the PAL leader that's what exactly they're supposed to do for your classes. But SI leader, since they go to your class, they don't know exactly what you teach for the day. So there should be no problem that the SI leader follow exactly what you do. Yeah. But for the PAL leader, it's more flexible because if there's no student go to his review section, he can go instead of your class and helping other classes too, right? Otherwise, they are sitting there for nothing. That's the reason we are having a PAL leader working for a few classes, so they can helping, if they don't have any students, they can even go to our tutoring center to help everyone school they need help. But definitely they can help exactly the way you want it. If the PAL leader is special for your class, right? Like the SI leader in your class.
I get it.
I think me personally, I think I've never used SI. I remember when I was at your college, it was introduced and I started using it. Then few weeks, 2 or 3 weeks later, I had to leave that college because I got a full-time job and all that. So I left. So I've never experienced it fully. But the way I'm seeing when I'm comparing the PAL and the SI leader right now, I think the PAL would be more appropriate. To me, that's my take. It should be more appropriate. It doesn't put too much stress on the leader, you know. So you always discuss with him, okay, I really want you to be here today for this course, this thing that I'm going to present. But if it's something we can discuss between us, I know, okay, you already know what is there, and you don't really have to be there. That's fine. So I think the PAL leader will not put too much stress on the. I mean, the PAL system will not put too much stress on the leader, and I think I will go with that.
Yeah, that's why we have these other types of options, because we bumped into issues with. For a long time, we really only offered SI leaders, and now we've opened up these other options for exactly the reasons that you just mentioned.
Okay, good. Now, another question. Let's say a faculty, a part-time, an adjunct, who can an adjunct serve as a tutor?
Say that again. I'm sorry.
Can an adjunct serve as a tutor?
So there is some ramifications with that, and I am going to ask that after this, if you want to stay behind the training, we can speak about it, because there's some other things that have to be calculated into that. So,
okay.
You know, it's more personal stuff. So we can talk about that after this. You know, if you want to stay at the end, I can answer that question for you.
Okay.
Right.
I'm not 100% sure how to answer this question, but somebody asked in the chat, okay, for like if you have an 8-hour course, how many hours is the SI out of class session?
Mm-hmm. So it all depends on the budget as well. So most times, and don't quote me on this, if there is a class that's 8 hours, sometimes the SI leader gets anywhere between 10 to 12 hours full time, and that is working in the class. We pay them for prep and also working with the SI, you know, out of class SI sessions. But again, don't quote me on that. So it's all dependent upon the budget and you know, funding that's available.
But just to understand, like if the SI leader is assigned for 12 hours, then he or she will be available to teach 4 hours out of the class. Is that true?
Yeah, and there's flexibility. Let's just say that if you want the SI leader, I don't know, if your class meets 3 times a week, just you know, throwing it out there.
Right.
If you just want your SI leader to attend 2 classes, and that gives them more time to work with the students. If you want them to attend 1 class, that gives, you know, so there is flexibility of how you can work the SI leader into your class. So we, you know, we say, you know, work with your SI leader, collaborate with them, and do what's best for you in your class. So, you know.
How much do they get paid?
Depending upon their degrees. So that there was an increase. I don't have the increase. I have it on me. I can look for it, but I don't know off the top of my head. But there was just recently an increase. But yeah, it depends on their degrees.
Can you give me like a ballpark figure, like a bachelor?
So I think with a bachelor's degree, it's about maybe almost $17. Associate, a little over $15. You know, something like to that extent. But I can get that information to you. It was just an increase.
Can they be current BMCC student as well?
So ideally, yes, the majority of the SI leaders are current BMCC students. Some of them have graduated. Dr. Familton's SI leader was a student here and graduated and now is in a master's program. You know, they stay with us. So, yeah, so, as long as
forever, I know. Hi.
Hi, Josh. As long as the person has sat in a class and understands the course material, and you sign off on the person and say that, you know, this person is competent to work with me and work with these students, they're able to work as an SI leader. Okay, just one more thing, because I just see that there's some more people who have come in the room. Please, if you can, just put your first and last name, your IMPL ID, or if you want to call it a CUNY first ID, and your role, whether you're an SI leader or faculty, in a chat box, please. I need that information. Thank you so much for your cooperation. Okay, Dr. Familton.
Okay. Anyway, yes, that's right. I mean, especially with all this online stuff, I was a lot more flexible with my SI leader's hours. He didn't have to stay as many hours in the class because I had an asynchronous and I kind of had this informal class. So I had him do a lot of the hours outside of class, even though he came to my informal Zoom session where usually I went over problems and things like that. It was kind of like a weird synchronous, asynchronous situation, what I did. But that's the thing. That's why I wasn't sure of how many hours, because this online stuff has made things a little bit more flexible and a little bit different, right, than what I would usually do. Because in a face-to-face class, I'd have my SI leader there all the time for the 8 hours, because I teach an 8-hour course. and he or she would walk around and help students out, like I said in my presentation, and then have the SI. I tried to schedule the SI SI leader their own particular sessions out before and after the class, so the students wouldn't run away. So, but as I said, this online stuff has made things a lot more flexible. Anyone else have any thoughts or ideas about this?
I would like to talk about my experience in selecting an SI leader. My way of selecting an SI leader is best to pick somebody that you have worked with before, basically your former student. It works well because of the fact that this student already have an idea of what you expect from him or from a student. And building on that, the first day of class is best way to present the SI leader to the student. He or she will be able to present the work, what you expect from them, and share the experience he or she had with you. So this one will galvanize the class for the entire semester. So you set up the class for everything. So picking up the former students, somebody already knows what you expect from them is really great for having success in your class when you have an SI leader.
Mm-hmm. That's what we encourage this. We encourage you pick a former student or a student that you know understands the material in your course and your particular teaching style. I mean, that's why with me, I've had all my SI leaders, I've had till they graduated. I know Megan, I still know her. She's now learning how to be she graduated from Baruch last year. And then there's Byron, who's in what is that? Well, in the Bronx. I'm always forgetting the name. And then of course Joshua, he's now in Hunter College studying for his master's. So once I get a good SI leader, I like to hang on to them forever. And that's one of the things you want to do, is you want to establish a good relationship. So it's always best that if you can, find a student you know who knows your teaching style, who understands the course and the material. And that's what we encourage. So that's right.
And just to add that this is not a disaster if you cannot, because sometimes schedule cannot work. And I had experience to work with two amazing students who were not my students, but they were taking the same courses previously at BMCC. And we got, very nice, relationship. They understood my style, how I was teaching and requiring. And the first one I was staying for about 3 or 4 semesters. And I'm happy to hear that he is about to graduate from Queens College, and now Claudia Pena. So I think we are working for 3 semesters already. She is a math major. She was a math major at BMCC, and then she transferred also to Queens College. So again, not, of course it's better if you have formal student, but again, other students who maybe other faculty recommended to you, it's also fine. Since they already were in that course, they know how the course flow. So this is really a big help too.
Well, actually,
Liana, how did you find those students?
So I had one of the tutors, the first one, that was actually in the very beginning. Then a SI program was created, and I think it was the first plot. I think Gia just your office found someone to me, and then that student, then he was transferring to Queens College. He said, "Oh, Professor Liana, I cannot do already that because it's overlapping with my schedule." So he already recommended me another one, Claudia, and that we had a brief conversation, and we found that we can work together nicely. And after first semester, it was perfect. So it's it's like a teamwork. So we are texting, "Oh, Professor, this student is not coming, that student is not coming. Can you, reinforce to send email contact?" So that was really, really nice, 3 semester of work with Claudia.
Okay, to answer your question, how do you get the SI leader? You talk to your colleague Another professor said, do you have any other student who is interested in being SI leader? Mostly in my class. And I always get my SI leader either from other professor that I talk to or from my class.
Right.
I said to the professor, do you know anybody that's good can be SI leader in my class? So based on that, the professor said, oh, I know someone. And this person can be a good SI leader for you. So based on that, you get recruit your SI leader.
Yeah, and the other thing too is that of the 3 SI leaders that I've had over time, only one of them was a former student. That was Megan, and both Josh and Byron, they were not even students of mine. Josh just popped in my class one day way back when and said, "Hi, I'm your SI leader."
That
and
was during your 8 a.m. course, right?
Yeah, that was the one that right on Sunday. I looked it up. It was Sunday. And I go, great, welcome aboard. And so we've been with each other ever since. And Byron, my other SI leader, I knew when he was a peer assisted leader before we had all these programs about 2 or 3 years earlier. And he was my SI leader last semester. So I had him trained as an SI leader. And so all these people, they may have not been former students, but I got them in other ways. So if you kind of click and they adapt to your teaching style and you get along with them, that's what's really important in the SI professor relationship.
And also, I know I have Joyce as well for my SI leader, and I had the SI leader in the class where Joyce is the one who prepared this SI leader for me. The student used to go to the SI every day and he know the way SI is working. After that, she decided to become a SI leader in the class. And by going to the SI leader, she started doing well in the class. She understood every concept in this class. And now when George decides, I don't want to work with you this semester, I want to work with Dr. Familton. That's the way you do it every semester.
Yeah, well,
either you work with me or you work with Dr. Familton.
Yeah,
now I have to use another SI leader that George prepared from his SI session to come to my class, and she's working well.
Yes, she did well.
Yeah, I mean, Josh and I've been juggling Josh and Byron now for a few semesters. So when Josh doesn't get it, actually, Conte, you get Josh, and then I'm also now recommending Byron for you this semester if you need Byron. Okay, so that's how we work it. I mean, you know, professors get to know each other and they get to know the different SI leaders and juggle them around because different semesters. Yeah. You want different people for different courses. Yeah.
Yeah, and often situation is changing even over summer. As an example from my last year experience, after spring semester, 2 of my grade students, or 206.5, were willing to start tutoring or SI leader program in fall, but over the summer, pandemic summer, you know, they already moved out, and okay, I lost both candidates. So then we stuck with Claudia again. But so things are changing. Then the most important that we keep communicating between professors and we can recommend each other, you know, someone else who is really was good in your course.
That's how we do it. Exactly. It's collaboration and communication.
And also, Professor Key is a good asset to give you SI leader.
Oh, yes, right. I forgot to mention. Yes, definitely. If you really, because he knows a lot of people who are trained and some of them don't have classes because we had too many that were trained. And that's why they became PAL leaders, but they'd rather be SI leaders. So definitely Key has a resource of people who could be SI leaders. Right.
That's a good information.
Our PAL leaders, I just want to do some addition. A lot of our PAL leaders, including the SI leaders, they graduate from BMCC. They already have bachelor's or master's degree in math. So you definitely going to have someone very good in math, and whenever you work with them, and they know exactly what you need.
Okay.
I think PAL leaders work very well if then the course is asynchronous, because it's really good idea to share, you know, SI leaders and to cover the whole day in the schedule so students from different classes can come. I have also another concern with, since we are all, many of us are coming in fall, at least in hybrid mode on campus, then in many classes we have style, working in groups and inviting SI leaders in classrooms. So again, keeping social distancing, that's a lot of concern. Any maybe ideas, Gia, how is vision from your office, how SI leader we will come on campus in classrooms if we are teaching hybrid courses, or can we do group work? Because group work should be, I assume, should students sit closer. So here 6 feet apart, kind of half of the classroom almost. So that's a little bit thinking ahead how I need to organize my class work in fall. If
I
you
have
would
to ask people like how you've been using SI and Pet Leader in the online setting. How are you using it?
Okay, well, I've been using it on the online. I've been using it in the online setting. As I mentioned, I would have, I do asynchronous. So, as I said, I did a kind of strange version of asynchronous because I would have an informal Zoom session once a week that at a time when most students could attend. So he would go there. And then he would have outside of class a lot more hours where he would be doing tutoring for the students. So I would end up having more hours that he could do specific tutoring for my class. And I have a very particular kind of class because I'm teaching the elementary school mathematics. So it's hard for, to find people in the math lab or other ways that would be able to assist the students in that particular course. So that's why I like the idea of an SI leader, because the people who I choose as my SI leader know that course. Now, in a synchronous class, you can have them as part of your synchronous session, meaning that, you would just treat it like a regular face-to-face class, but with the Zoom platform.
And it means that I will add, if you are making breakout rooms, right? So then you can, travel from room to room, and a SI leader can help you, to check how the groups are working. So because not that much help if it's lecture or something, but exactly, closer to more individual work or breakout room. This is for synchronous, I guess. I was teaching fully asynchronous, so most of the work was done in tutoring. I had the initial session in the beginning of the semester. I invited my tutor, Claudia, introduced. But we were very consistent in reminding about the sessions. We were consistent in giving some extra points for different assignments if students attending, SI leader sessions. So this is something how we can, buy in our students to attend the sessions.
Now, somebody asked the difference between, asked if an SI leader is a tutor. And I'm just going to show something as comparing the difference between TAs, SI leaders and TAs, because this comes up every now and then. An SI leader is not a TA. So let me just share my screen. Okay. One second. Okay, so the SI leader is a model student, and leaders do not profess to know all the answers. They will refer to instructors and other resources, where a TA is a content specialist. TAs have demonstrated knowledge in the field of study. An SI leader is a peer or student. Leaders are able to relate to the students on their level of learning, where a TA is an academic elite, and TAs are seen by students as superior and authority. An SI leader leads students to success by facilitating learning, where the TA leads students towards success by teaching subject matter. An SI leader encourages group participation and collaborative learning, where the TA may use collaborative learning depending on the instructor's course format. An SI leader is oriented towards serving the student's needs, while the TA is oriented towards meeting the instructor's expectations. And finally, an SI leader facilitates learning of the course content and leaves teaching to the instructor, where a TA may re-lecture or present new materials and support of the instructor. One more thing, that an SI leader does not re-lecture, does not introduce new materials, does not answer faculty addressed emails, does not grade assignments or exams, and does not discourage students from going to class. So these are, oh yeah, and does not teach the class in the instructor's absence. So these are important things to know, that an SI leader is not a TA, and some of the differences between a TA and an SI leader. Hello?
But can SI leader grade homeworks?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
That you'd have to, as a matter of fact, that's what I'm looking into, because I may end up having too many students to grade homeworks. That's what you have to look into a grader for, if you're using the OERs that we have. Otherwise, I don't know. You know, SI leaders are not supposed to do any grading.
Hi. Excuse me. In the immersion program, I had some wonderful experiences with SI leaders, well, actually tutors, and I found them very beneficial. But something Liana said is my total concern as well. And that is, typically I would, during class time, walk around, and, help students. But if I have a PAL leader or someone like that in my class, how are we going to manage social distancing? That's a big concern.
That's why I brought up the whole thing with the Zoom session, because what I was discussing was more about what I did when I had a face-to-face class. Things are a little bit different and maybe a little bit more flexible. That's why I had more time for the out-of-class sessions, because I had asynchronous and I only had a little informal Zoom session. So my SI leader ended up having, a lot of hours outside of class to help students out.
And as Dean Zumo mentioned earlier, that we're still going through this reimagining, what the college is going to look like opening. You all can hear me? Can you hear me, Dr.
Yes.
Patterson? Okay, so we're all going through the reimagining process. So I guess we just have to stay abreast of on the guidelines, and just follow whatever, the CDC and the chancellor and the mayor, whatever they're saying, is going to be, policies for the fall semester. Everything's changing from day to day, but yeah, safety and, social distancing and, all of that is, is a priority and a concern for all of us,
So Gia or somebody else, I mean, I think we'll talk about this in a moment, but what is the timeline for application or in finding the SI leader?
So yeah, we're going to talk about this when we all come back as a group. So ideally, you all should have someone, if you want to start for the fall semester, you should have someone on your mind, or someone that you're thinking about. If not, you can start networking with your colleagues to have identified someone that you can start with for the semester.
Okay, the last questions that I have, on my list of questions is, how will you use this modality address the college's strategic plans for retention and equality, especially for Black, Brown, and Latino men, which was also mentioned by Dean Schultz. And what challenges have you encountered, and how have you addressed these challenges? Does anybody have any thoughts on that?
I think that's the key idea of the peer learning, right? I mean, the helping, seeing somebody like themselves, help them.
Yeah, I tend to agree, that trying to find SI leaders who really, you know, are representative of the demographic of students in the class?
I think in my experience, as an immigrant coming to this country, I don't speak no English. So I have to go to school to learn English and sit down and learn every single thing. So I always present this experience to the student. I said, okay, so you come in here, so you will be the same as I was when I was in school. I just came, I have to learn English, and I have to relearn math because of the language. It seems like you go back to its beginning process. So don't be discouraged because you don't understand what we're doing today. But by practice, the more you practice, the better you will understand what's going on. And now you have to be a model for them. They see you, oh, Professor Conte was an ESL student? Yes. Oh, I'm in ESL class, so therefore I can move forward and be in the same place. Tell them you go to all those steps. Don't be shy to explain to them your experience. You don't explain them your life, but you can explain to them your experience. Based on that, I think students can learn and move on.
Any other thoughts on this?
What I can say here is retention. Students, okay, let me tell you a little story about a situation that I had in my class. One of my students one day asked me, Professor, have you ever failed a class? Yes. And my answer was yes, I failed a class. And I told them my own experience, how that helped me become good at math. So so I told them this is the situation. I failed my 7th grade, and when I failed it, I had to repeat the whole class the following year. And as I was taking that class again, I had a new math professor who just came from teaching academy, and who was very, I mean, he was young, and he presented math in a different way that touched me and encouraged me to become today good at math and become become somebody who is here to teach you math. So when I told them the story, the first reaction of that student was, wow, you know what I just heard about you make me respect you more. And later on, that student, he came to see me after class and told me, truly I was planning to withdraw, but with what I just heard from you, how you failed the class, and then with help with the professor, you were able to work that out and become very good at math. I think that put me in a spot of doing the same as you did. And that student, trust me, he became very close. He always come to me to have a discussion with me, to ask questions. And at the end, he ended up getting an A. Somebody who was about to withdraw from my class, he ended up getting an A. So by telling them a little bit about yourself, your struggle, and how you overcome it, I think it made them feel closer. I mean, it touched them, and it made them see that, oh, I have in front of me somebody who can also struggle like me and was able to make it. And I think that was a very good experience that I had in the past.
Okay.
Inclusion, equity, and sense of belonging. This trilogy is powerful in the classroom because we need to be able to pick examples that relate to what the students have encountered. Mm-hmm. We need to raise the awareness about what's happening in the neighborhood. How can we be able to make example in our teaching, our lesson plan that related to them? so that they'll feel like, oh, now I'm somewhere that can hear what's happening. Somebody's listening to me. Somebody's be able to teach me how I can defend myself. For example, in mathematics, when you ask them, you give them a problems, and they look at you and say, how this problem will help me to pay my rent? How this problem is going to help me to find a job? How this problem will help me to actually face the bullying that's happening in my neighborhood? So somebody that never had a bank account, you give them an example about an investment, the interest rate, they look at you and say, what's going on? So we need to be able to go deeper to that when we are planning our lesson, when we are making examples so that students can be able to relate to us. Furthermore, we need to, from time to time, take example from our own experience so that the student can relate it to us, pay attention, and be able to do more. So that's how I see it. And that's how I practice and I lay down my plan, my class, and my students, they always want to talk to me and they listen to me. And those who are taking my class, they seem in touch with me, give me good news about how they are being successful in their programs.
All right, any other questions or comments? I think we're supposed to be going back to the main room soon, but I haven't heard any. Gia, do you know what's going on?
No, I haven't heard anything either. I can check though, but no, I haven't heard anything.
Yeah, because it looks like according to the goals and terms, breakout rooms are from 11:30 to 12:10, and it's already 12:20. So, and Dean Zumo is supposed to facilitate summaries and highlight breakout groups. That's why, Key, you're taking notes.
Yes.
Just to put some in what Chili said, and we have also tried to know the student, the struggle. And when the student come to class, you have to know exactly what the problem, why the student don't want to participate in class, why the student is so sad, because the student, sometimes the student come up with different problems that you don't know. Mm-hmm. By sharing that with you will make the student, it's like you make a day for the class. Make the student say, oh, I have someone that I can trust, someone I can talk to. I got so many students who come to me. They say, you're the only one. You're the only one. I explain my situation. Don't share that with anyone.
Yeah,
well, no, it's between me and you.
We're not just professors, okay?
We're advisors.
We're advisors. We're psychologists. We're therapists. We're all kinds of things. We put on many.
We parent. We all.
Here well knows.
Exactly.
So we do the best we can with all the hats we have to wear besides our subject matter.
Exactly.
So, Gia, did you find out what's going on in the main room?
I'm trying now, Dr. Familton.
Because I think we covered everything in the. Let me just see if.
I'm looking at my emails now. I don't know. Does anyone who's had worked with the SI program want to share any highlights? Any
I would just like to comment on what Professor Key presented, that opportunity for professors to have access to tutors every single day via Zoom. It's just one click away for the student to get help, because the reality is that our students nowadays, they don't have a fixed time for them to go over assignments, for them to go over homework. So, but whenever they are working on their assignment and they get stuck, they have now this chance to go online. And if that moment is not the moment when the instructor or the professor has office hours, they have still every single day someone who is going to help them out, right? I think that's important. And I think we should promote that service and let all adjuncts, all faculty members know about this help that tutors are giving students. So at any time, basically, I've seen the hours. It's basically all over from the morning to night. It's several hours that the students have access to great tutors. That's all I wanted to say.
I absolutely agree. And as even earlier, Dean Schultz mentioned that new students, totally new coming, they don't know about this service, about that service. And the same thing with sometimes adjunct faculty who not communicating or checking emails often. So I was thinking maybe in the first 3 weeks, is it possible to do something like mass emails, just reminder like 2 or 3 times a week, the first 3 weeks only, so students will get used to. Then this is the train SI leader sessions, and so on. So I mean,
one of the
idea is that if some adjunct faculty or so will not, give enough information to students, that we can, from the a little bit higher level to send that reminder to students.
One of the issues of mass emailing in our department, we can't, because it has to be done through Professor Featherstone. How you cannot do any, I know I've just been through this, and it's up to him. And if he's not, if he's away from his computer and he doesn't do it, and it's all up to him, unfortunately, as you well know. I mean, are you aware of this,
I mean, I'm not talking about only mass email to faculty, because we can do it through the course coordination. Sorry. So, but I meant then it could be if we can pull, students' emails from, for example, I'm talking about 206.5. Would it be possible to send that somehow, that mass email to exactly students?
I don't know how to do that. I mean, if you know how to do that, or you
I don't know, but we can actually think about that if it's possible,
Problems even getting information out about this, because I couldn't mass email it myself, and there was just multiple issues, that I encountered in doing mass emails.
Perhaps we can request that information, those links for example, the online tutoring, to be posted in each section of Math 206, Math 206.5 in Blackboard.
That's what I said,
we could try that.
Yes. My idea is, if sometimes, LRC sends that here and here we have the workshops, Word workshops, PowerPoint workshops, Excel for students. So there is one person responsible who is sending that information, that maybe something from LRC can come periodically as a reminder to students that there are those and those SI leader sessions. That's what my point was.
Yeah, what Ivan mentioned is one thing that I suggested to a few friends of mine about our OER, and who are teaching 150 to make available on, because they teach asynchronously, is to put the links on their Blackboard in their announcements. So
yes.
Too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. In the announcements, we all utilize Blackboard, all faculty, all students, and students check Blackboard at least once a day in average. So placing the links in Blackboard in the courses, it will be a great idea, I think, for students to know the resources.
Yeah, that's what I had suggested to a few people who I know in the department. Anyway, it looks like they're about to kick us out in 33, 32.